La Liga then, shall we? Let's bring in our La Liga expert, Phil Kitcher-Melades, who's joining us live right now. Phil, listen, another win for Barcelona, 2-0, but it could have been a lot more.
It could have been. It should have been a lot more. They created a ridiculous amount of chances, some absolutely brilliant saves from World Cup winning goalkeeper Unai Simon for Athletic Club. And I thought this was an immensely impressive performance from Barcelona, maybe even more impressive than the 5-0 against Elche on the first game of the season. The energy, the movement, the aggression that they played with up front. Rafinha getting his goal, but looking like a real number 9, that movement for the goal, dropping deep, then spinning back into space, the way he took it as well, round the goalkeeper. You don't see too many strikers take the ball round the goalkeeper these days, but Rafinha had the confidence and the calmness to do it. I thought it was brilliant. And what I've really liked about Barcelona in these opening 2 games has been their attitude. You know, this is a team that has won comfortably the last 2 league titles. A lot of these players were off winning the World Cup in the summer. You could forgive some of them for thinking, maybe we can take it a little bit easy at the start. You know, it's still the summer, let's get our groove. They have been ridiculously relentless, aggressive, hungry right from the start. They played against Elche. They were 2-0 up at the break. They went and they got more goals. Today, they kept going and kept going, kept creating chances. I mean, the football was great. To watch it was aesthetically very, very pleasing. But the attitude was absolutely superb. And that is something that Hansi Flick has demanded from his players. I remember the first game of last season, they won 3-0 away at Mallorca. Hansi Flick was furious because they were 2-0 up after 20 minutes. And he thought they were walking around the pitch for the rest of the game. There was no repeat of that against Elche on the first match day, and there was no repeat of that tonight. They were really, really impressive.
Phil, the scoreline may be deceiving from some of the chances that Barcelona created. 22 shots on the day, 13 in just the second half alone. Yes, we can give credit to Unai Simon, but looking at some of the chances Barcelona missed on a different day, I mean, this game could have been a lot worse for athletic clubs. So I'm looking bigger picture, not La Liga, for the Champions League. Given what we saw in the final third, could not having a true number 9 come back to bite Barcelona?
Listen, you know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking there's no way Barcelona can go through the whole season without signing someone to replace the 2 number 9s that they have lost in the summer, Robert Lewandowski and Ferran Torres. Their first choice 2 players in that position have gone. But after these opening 2 games, I'm thinking maybe they can. Maybe they can, because if you look at the fluidity with which they played, and I know today they missed a lot of chances, but they created those chances, and Hansi Flick will be delighted to have created that amount of chances. And when you have that volume of chances, statistically, you will probably get enough to win matches. I know at the highest level you don't get that many chances, and this was a very open Athletic Club, and Elche are not one of the best teams in La Liga. We shouldn't be placing everything on these 2 games. But I do feel like the players that have come into this starting 11, i.e. Rafinha in a central position, Anthony Gordon as well, they're looking like they really understand what the task at hand is for this season. So you're right. Listen, they really should have someone else in that centre forward position to compete on 4 fronts. But if they don't, let's just say I don't think it's going to go as badly as we might have thought a couple of weeks ago, because they're looking like they understand what they need to do without a focal point of the attack.
Yeah, they're looking dangerous, no doubt about it, Phil. Look, the Champions League draw's taking place. We know who Barcelona will face. Disappointing by their standards last season, crashed out in the quarter-final stage against Atlético Madrid. What do you make of the draw?
I like it from a Barcelona perspective, because it's got 2 real blockbuster ties in Manchester City and PSG. They played against PSG last season in the early stages of the competition. You know, PSG are favourites for that game, I would think, just about. But other than that, Barcelona will fancy their chances against Manchester City, against Aston Villa, and against everyone else. What wasn't ideal from a perspective Barcelona, from the 4th pot to get Como from Serie A, and then to have a long trip to Azerbaijan to take on Sabah, that didn't go according to plan for Barcelona. Not ideal. But otherwise, I think they'll be looking at that and thinking we will get enough points from those matches to finish, if not in the top, probably top 8. They'll be pretty confident of getting enough points to finish top 8.
Phil, I want to talk about the elephant in the room. Maybe not on the pitch, but in the transfer market. It's been a long transfer saga, or lack thereof, with Julian. You said that Julian Alvarez had what about Atleti again?
He's got, I really want to leave Atletico Madrid-itis. That's why he hasn't trained today or yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's going to another stage, maybe stage 3, stage 4.
It's chronic.
Where are things at right now, and where does that leave Barcelona, given that Atleti, their social media account, the board met, and everyone affiliated with the club, from the president on down, they've been adamant. There is no way, zero chance, that Julian Alvarez will be sold to Barcelona.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear. It's there in black and white, and they put it out in English as well, so the whole world can read it and understand that he will not be sold to Barcelona. And it's something that I've been saying, for the last few days when I've been coming on the show and trying to express what I've been hearing. I've been told, the club are very, very, very adamant. We are not selling him to Barcelona. We are not. Now, there is obviously the other option potentially of Arsenal, which is gaining a little bit of traction in the last few hours, because I think Julian himself is assessing the situation, and it might be even worse than he might have contemplated it to be. But Julian Alvarez to Barcelona, it's not on, it's not happening, it hasn't been on for a while, it's still not on, and it isn't going to happen. So it's down to the player now. Is he thinking, is this so bad here that I need to look for a move away? And, moving to the Premier League champions, it's not a terrible move for his career, but he obviously didn't necessarily want to move. He wanted to move to Barcelona. That was what his heart was set on. Or does he stay at Atletico Madrid, knuckle down, work hard, try and score some goals, get the fans back on side, and turn this around? That looks like a very, very difficult prospect for Julian Alvarez, but it's not impossible. He can turn it around, but it's entirely down to the player now. I don't think Atletico Madrid would be too devastated if Arsenal came with 150 million euros and said, here, we'll take him off your hands. The problem is trying to replace him, and such a massive, massive player at this late stage in the transfer window. So yeah, it's the saga that keeps on rolling. We're going to find out one way or another in the next few days. But Julian to Barcelona, you saw it there in black and white. It's just not going to happen.
Phil, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, the time ticking away with regards to transfers, Mike. I mean, before we get to Barcelona's performance in the game, Alvarez, I mean, not a bad position to be in for him. Do you stay in Madrid, or you've got Barcelona and potentially Arsenal as well? How tough is it as a player, do you think, for him, that the likes of Barcelona, he said it's his dream, and then you've got Arsenal there as well? How tough is it for him if he does have to stay at Madrid?
Yeah, it's becoming a nasty watch, and it was only less than a year ago we saw Alexander Isak, someone you know very well, who, when a player's heart is not set on being at a club, especially a player like Julian Alvarez, who's an introvert by nature, you start seeing that should he be in training, it almost starts being a cancer in the locker room. And I've been there where I've played with a former teammate, I'm not going to name names, but a former teammate of mine did not want to be at the club. It was a World Cup year in 2014. He started thinking that he was bigger than the club. His aspirations were bigger than where the club was at. And after a while, our club, they chose to dig their heels in and keep him at the club. It cost us our season.
There we go.
Let's not forget that Atletico Madrid, they are without Antoine Griezmann, who is the talisman, who is their all-time leading goal scorer. I've said it before on Scoreline at this network that this team, it is made for Julian Alvarez, Atletico Madrid that is, for him to take the mantle up and be their new talisman. Now he doesn't want to be there, Pete. What does that say to the rest of the team? If you're Cholo Simeone, okay, the board has said he's not going to Barcelona, but you have to find a way to move forward with or without him. And I think there's life without him in the Spanish capital.
Oh, dear me. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens in the remaining few days of the transfer window. And what do you make of Barcelona's performance? I mean, they won 2-0, but we watched the game together. I mean, they could have scored 5 or 6.
Yeah, it was disappointing that they didn't entertain the crowd that came to watch them in the fashion that we've been used to last season. Right now, Rafinha and Fermin Lopez, they're playing on a different stratosphere right now. And for them to be in the goal-scoring vein of form is sensational to watch. Rafinha, and we preview this in the season preview, he's showing that he's got a versatility to his game. And I stand by this when I say it, Pete. He is their most important player. He's now the captain of the team. He sets the tone, and he gets buy-in from every other player on this team. I was really, really disappointed, though, up until Rodri came in and Lamine Yamal's performance. Barcelona should have been up 3-0 at halftime. And I just wonder if we're starting to see the burnout of Lamine Yamal. So many games played, coming off a World Cup where he had to be pretty much forced in to the World Cup. No player in world football is ever going to miss that. But now we're looking at some of his form. 1 goal in his last 10 matches for club and country. He doesn't even know what the goal looks like a bit in terms of being clinical in the final third in his last 8 matches, not scoring a goal. That's never been done before in his short career. So you could see his frustrations on the day, but this is why you bring the leader that is Rodri, who makes his debut for Barcelona coming in, where the Rodris of the world, they're there to take the pressure off Lamine Yamal, which he did in his post-match interview, saying he was incredible. I know he was frustrated, but you will see the best of Lamine Yamal, and you saw a smile on his face in the final 15 minutes. But just keep an eye on that, Pete.
Yeah.
Lamine Yamal's mentality, you got to keep an eye on that because he's a young player. Burnout's for real.
It's a great point. We may see many top players facing burnout on the back of what was a strenuous World Cup.